In this podcast episode with Alain de Botton, the philosopher and founder of the School of Life explores profound themes about self-esteem, human nature, relationships, societal pressures, creativity, and the complexity of modern living. The discussion traverses from the origins of self-esteem to reflections on vulnerability, art, melancholy, and the challenges of contemporary culture, providing deep insights into how individuals navigate their inner and outer worlds. Alain begins by addressing the elusive nature of self-esteem, suggesting it remains somewhat of a mystery. He argues that unlike intelligence, which explains only a small part of human achievement, self-esteem is intricately tied to imagination, perseverance, and one's sense of agency in the world. Crucially, he highlights the role of class and upbringing. A working-class background often fosters the belief that external forces control the world, relegating individuals to merely negotiating obstacles rather than dismantling them, while a typical middle-class upbringing tends to instill the confidence that people like you and me shape reality. This social and cultural backdrop influences how individuals perceive their potential, creating powerful distinctions in self-esteem from an early age. Alain illustrates this through a memorable yogurt lid moment, a humbling experience when an idolized figure reveals a striking, simple humanity, reminding us that even those we elevate to demigod status are fallible humans. Such realizations help level the imaginative playing field and are crucial in building a realistic sense of self-worth. A striking theme is the asymmetry between how we understand ourselves and how we perceive others. Alain points out that we have direct access to our internal experiences, often chaotic, embarrassing, and flawed, while we only see others' chosen outward presentations. This imbalance fuels self-doubt and isolation because, paradoxically, we are simultaneously lovers and harshest critics of our own flawed minds. He also remarks on the universal human experience of thinking others' lives are normal, while ours are weird, underlining our limited insight into others' inner complexities. This asymmetry feeds both envy and social comparison, shaping self-esteem further. In relationships and friendships, revealing vulnerability and shared peculiarities can generate intimacy and mutual acceptance, but such openness remains rare due to entrenched societal silence around imperfections. Alain addresses imposter syndrome with a refreshing perspective, framing it as a sign of self-awareness and honesty rather than a pathology. Being conscious of one's doubts, wondering if you are a fraud, reflects a healthy skepticism about self-aggrandizement. However, when imposter feelings intensify with low self-esteem, they can spiral into debilitating self-criticism. The path forward involves testing oneself against reality and recognizing true talents. He likens discovering vocation and identity to passing a metal detector over the earth, with occasional beeps indicating fragments of one's core self buried amidst the chaos. Importantly, envy can serve as a compass toward neglected ambitions or values rather than a destructive emotion, guiding personal growth when properly understood. Criticism, especially when warranted, can feel profoundly painful because of our ingrained moral sensibilities and the reality that we inevitably hurt others, often unintentionally. Alain stresses the importance of forgiveness, a key lesson dating back to religious traditions of confession and charity of spirit. We need trusted others to offer compassionate understanding that enables self-forgiveness and social repair. These processes are difficult or impossible to replicate in solitude, underscoring human beings as fundamentally social creatures, requiring empathetic companionship. Alain explores gender dynamics, noting how masculinity in many cultures is framed as an achievement that must be constantly guarded, creating fragile identities among men. True strength, paradoxically, manifests when men admit vulnerability and seek help after being broken by life's hardships. Yet many men struggle to accept or offer nurturing support to peers, partly due to evolutionary coalitional instincts and societal expectations that discourage male vulnerability. This creates a cultural paradox where men desire emotional openness but resist it in others, making authentic male friendships rare and fragile. Touching on darker impulses, Alain reflects on bullying and sadism as manifestations of transferring personal pain onto others, rooted in intergenerational cycles of suffering. He emphasizes that cruelty is inherited and that an essential challenge for humanity is breaking these destructive patterns. The conversation also highlights how envy and emotional privilege can fuel resentment and hostility, especially when individuals perceive others' emotional softness as a threat to their own toughness. Addressing the human longing for recognition, Alain notes that many who seek fame do so as compensation for deep childhood feelings of invisibility. This compensatory drive contrasts with the exceptional achievement of living an ordinary life, a noble but psychologically challenging path. The discussion points to the psychological burdens behind outsized need for external validation, fame, or humor, framing these as adaptive strategies born from unresolved childhood wounds. Alain eloquently reflects on the shame of simple pleasures, a tendency to undervalue everyday moments and require grand events to feel joy. He advocates for embracing a lower threshold of happiness, harvesting delight from small, subtle experiences like a good coffee or the shifting sunlight. This approach contrasts with societal conditioning that pushes for significance only on a large scale. Connecting this to art, Alain encourages people to be independent arbiters of significance, finding personal resonance rather than adhering to prescribed tastes or reputations. He likens great art to a vessel preserving something endangered within oneself, a reflection of a deeper need to capture and hold on to fragments of one's true home or self. On the theme of busyness, Alain suggests the discomfort many feel when alone with their thoughts stems from the anxiety buried within those thoughts, regrets, fears, sadness. Distraction becomes a defense mechanism, making environments that offer low-level bustle, like trains or cafes, ideal for introspection. He also praises mundane, goal-oriented tasks like washing dishes for providing quick, tangible order amidst life's broader chaos. The conversation touches on the dizzying freedom of existential choice, with the paradox that too many possibilities can overwhelm rather than liberate. Learning to listen to fleeting, peripheral thoughts can guide one toward authentic desires and meaning, but this requires courage to challenge entrenched patterns and assumptions continually. Discussing love and relationships, Alain criticizes contemporary dating culture for overemphasizing finding the right person rather than dedicating effort to getting on with another flawed human. The myth of perfect compatibility leads to impatience and frequent breakups, whereas true relational growth demands humility, patience, and sustained work. He advocates for a mindset that accepts imperfection in oneself and others, encourages dialogue that lowers defensiveness by acknowledging fear, and softens communication with tentative language, maybe, perhaps, to build mutual understanding. Recognizing that both partners carry red flags, yet can work through them, is key to long-term flourishing. Alain praises the courage of genuine creativity, which involves affirming personal pleasures and insights despite cultural pressures. The temptation to over-intellectualize emotions is less harmful than clinging rigidly to outdated theories. Growth requires continuously testing and revising one's mental maps in light of reality. He recalls the stoic acceptance of loss and limitation, valuing the balance between desiring a full life and cultivating resilience to cope with its inevitable diminutions. Humor, melancholy, and the British tradition of dark comedy emerge as wise responses to life's absurdities, offering both humility and perspective. Alain contrasts the tragic cultural acceptance of human limitation, common in European traditions, with the American ideal of meritocracy and self-made success. While America's optimism fuels innovation, it also intensifies psychological distress by equating personal worth with achievement and status. In meritocratic societies, failure carries crushing stigma, contributing to high rates of despair and suicide. This recognition encourages a gentler interpretation of success and failure, reminding us that much is arbitrary or influenced by forces beyond individual control.